ask any macro trader on planet Earth, they will all agree that if you have a socialist regime, or at least like the prospect of a socialist leaning regime coming in, that this is not positive risk assets. Like that is economics 101.
What's your stance on the upcoming weeks? What do you think will happen? When will the cycle end?
If you want to follow the good product, so I need to own some of the token type of thesis, then I think DeFi lending markets right now are a very, very attractive bet.
The holy grail in crypto, and if someone on Solana figures that out first, that would be huge boost to the ecosystem, are under collateralized loans.
If you're willing to go a little bit further down the risk curve, I think stream finance is pretty exciting right now.
I use one DeFi product that I still think is one of the best in the industries. It's Thorchain. I really love it.
With Bitcoin, regardless who's in charge, US debt will increase. The dollar will continue to get devalued. All the narratives that we've been talking about for 5 years. There's nothing that indicates these things change. GM, welcome back to this week's Roundtable. How's everybody doing?
Great. Also good. Back in Berlin. Back in rainy Berlin. Very German weather, I would say. So, but yeah, super nice here. It's a little bit fallish already, unfortunately, but it's fine.
What has been keeping you two up in the markets recently?
I mean, has much changed compared to last week? I don't think so.
World Liberty launched their token. Other than that, not much, no.
What was the valuation again? Somebody told me yesterday that, what was it? I think like 30 billion or something at launch or something? Or what was it?
I think it was at 40 billion at its peak, but then there was some mess up with the total supply. So right now it's at 23 billion. And if you look at the price development ever since its launch yesterday, it started trading at around 30 cents. And now it's about 20. So yeah, it was roughly 40 billion. I do think that it could be an interesting pair trade to go long Aave and maybe a basket of other DeFi lending market coins like Morpho and Euler, and go short the ULFI. But I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't looked into the depth of liquidity of this, because if it wicks up, you could easily get liquidated.
Yeah. Here, see it here. Here's the chart. Yeah, it looks brutal.
Have you
Market
guys
cap
participated in
5.
the ICO of it?
Of course not.
But you know what? Like, with all of these launches, and there was another one recently. Yeah. Yeezy from Kanye. It's very hard to lose money shorting them. They have a short period where they go up, and then usually you see the wick down. And even there, you could open the short, and it's just like hard losing money on those. And if you would have shorted 8 out of 10 of these big launches, Trump, Melania, Libra, Yeezy, now World Liberty, maybe on Trump you would have been liquidated because it went up for a while, but I think all the others, it was like a free money glitch.
Well, I mean, even on the way down, they do wake up from time to time. Of course, not to all-time highs, but you definitely want to have a comfortable margin. So it's not a very capital efficient trade. I mean, it's interesting on the note of the ICO that they did. I think it was in February or March. It was open for around 30 days because it didn't really fill, because everybody was so traumatized from the Trump and Melania coin launches. But I think they raised at 1.5 cents per token, and now it's at 23 cents. So that's, if you participated with size, that was probably among the easiest 10x upwards plays you could have participated in. But yeah, I faded it too, so nothing to profit from here.
Happens.
Other than
On
that,
the note,
market. Sorry?
yeah, I was wanting to say on the note of Trump, have you guys seen the rumors about his health declining?
Yes.
I have seen.
And his hand and some, like apparently these folks were nurses commenting in the comment section on Twitter that this is really concerning. But yeah, I'm not a doctor, so I have a hard time estimating what's going on there. But yeah, there are a lot of rumors. But I mean, he is 80 plus now. No? How old is
I
Donald
think
Trump?
either very late 70s or early 80s.
Yeah.
I think it's if
79,
something serious
yeah.
happens, that could be a long tail liquidation bear market sort of catalyst. Because I do
Really?
think that, yeah, I mean, Trump himself, he's obviously not writing these crypto policies, but I do think that he's very much responsible for the overall volatile and change-driven climate that we've seen in US politics at large, in geopolitics, and also in the US regulatory stance in crypto. And crypto on a global level, it thrives of an environment of change and volatility, except for US regulation. And that was the first time where there have been some initiatives to clear it up. And I think, like, God forbid, if he was to die or something serious was to happen and maybe get removed from office due to health concerns, I do think that could stall innovation quite a bit in this sector. Because, I mean, think about it what you want, but I mean, he personally has a very strong incentive for the sake of his family's wealth through the two meme coins and now with World Liberty Financial to push this industry forward. And he's also one who has kind of a stronghold over all the three branches of the US government. And if JD Vance was to succeed Trump, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to sustain that dominance. So, yeah. And then
If I
on the
may,
geopolitical scale, I think one of the outsized bull market catalysts could be a peace deal or at least a ceasefire or something in that direction in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And I also think that Trump is much more likely to achieve that than most other people, because my outlook on his objectives for this term has not changed much. I mean, he wants to get the Mar-a-Lago Accords done as a restructuring of global trade, and he wants the global peace deal, the Nobel Peace Prize. These are his two main objectives, and I think ending the Russia-Ukraine conflict, or at least pausing it for a long duration, is a necessary condition to get nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. So I do think he has a strong incentive there to do that.
so if I may add my 2 cents from that, I actually strongly disagree on that. I think, so first off, I don't think that if elections were tomorrow, I don't think that Trump would win. I also don't think that Vance would have like a chance. What I do think is actually, I think markets would appreciate it a lot if the Democrats would regain the power again. Just because if markets had one thing, it's uncertainty. Trump was spreading so much uncertainty in the past couple of months. Some tariffs here, some tariffs there, some pullback of tariffs. And I think for global trade and everything, I think for the broader macroeconomy, which is much more important for the wider global crypto market, in my view, besides some regulatory developments in the US. I think that's the most important thing for crypto, that the economy is doing well. And I think that more certainty will basically boost crypto, because primarily because other industries would do well as well. Like the China conflict would be gone, and to be honest, like I think the idea of Trump fixing the Ukraine-Russia conflict is, I mean, very appealing and it's romanticizing, but I don't think that this is going to happen. This conflict is so complex. It's there since 2014, and I understand that people seek like a simple solution, but I don't think there is a simple solution. So first off, I highly doubt that he fixes this Russia-Ukraine thing. I highly doubt that. I think it will be like a super long, never-ending story. He ain't gonna win the Nobel Prize, and he will create more uncertainty than certainty, and markets will hate that. And I think with his Melania shit show, I think he hurt the industry more than the industry benefit from it.
No, I mean the Melania thing was maybe a extraction or like a damage to the meme coin industry worth a few billion. But I mean, he set the preconditions for BTC running up the way it did. He set the preconditions for ETH running up the way it did. So I mean, that's a few billion, call it, drained through a meme coin and the meme coin industry versus hundreds of billions added in market cap in these assets. So like,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
I
think
think
that
that's
this calculation makes any sense at all.
no. I think like the perception from the outside. I think it just demonstrates very clearly. I mean, sorry, but that we live in a world where the president of the United States launches his own crypto project or meme coin or whatsoever. Like it's like really a South Park episode that doesn't come to an end, kind of a thing. And in my view, this would have happened with the Democrats as well. Maybe a little bit later. Yes, I agree to that. But I think for crypto, the best thing that could have actually happened long term is are the Democrats. And when we saw the big upwind in 2021, the Democrats were in power, not the Republicans. Because what crypto really
but that
loves,
was not due to any political stance. That was due to like macro conditions, because everybody was handed free helicopter money, and that free helicopter money that came from Trump and not Biden. That was all still done in the first Trump administration.
Yeah, but if we look at quantitative easing starting from 2008, it's the Democrats.
Yeah, but that was under a rather moderate regime, at least that which was Biden in the beginning. And right now, who's leading the polls in the Democrats, or like the sentiment, or these highly socialist people like either Bernie, or probably because he's too old now to either AOC or maybe Elizabeth Warren, or like these types. And I think that would be Zoran Mandani. I mean, that's just another instance of that. And that is like the single most bearish thing that could happen to risk markets at all. Stocks would decline heavily, crypto would decline heavily. It's the most bearish thing you could imagine, because you would have the largest capital outflow of the US ever. So I think like
so you were gone for a
and
second.
also, I mean, if Trump was to die, then Vance would succeed him. Like there wouldn't be new elections until 2028 either way. So like I don't think that, yeah.
So my take, I have two main comments on this. One is there is always this pendulum swing, whichever side we are in, the other side will start to look more attractive, and there will be a swing. I think this process takes a couple years, and then we're going to see left, right, or like liberal, Democrat, conservative. However, the one thing I disagree with a little bit, Max, is I think you are overemphasizing the impact of the actual politicians, in the sense that in the short term and maybe midterm, which is 1-2 years, there could be a small difference. I think on a long enough time horizon, which for me is like 3 to 10 years, there's probably zero difference. I wouldn't see why there would be a huge difference. Similarly to how Trump versus Kamala Harris, I mean, I think Trump led to a short-term, I don't know if you remember, from like November to December to Jan. It was just like short-term euphoria, then everything exploded. My assumption is if Kamala would have been elected, this euphoria wouldn't have happened. But from a chart perspective, we would probably be more or less at the same level right now. I don't know. My view is like in the short term, like, okay, we need to look at the actual policies. And I just wonder what policies you think make it such that you think capital would flow out of the US, for example, or is it just a sentiment thing? And if it's a sentiment thing, then my point basically stands. I don't think.
Well, I mean,
the
the platform of the socialist flank of the Democrats is redistribution, capital controls, and like anything that opposes free markets and free banking and free access to finance. Like it is the literal
that's your
antidote.
opinion.
No, that is
That's
not my
your
opinion. Do you know what Elizabeth Warren has been the arch enemy of crypto for 5 years?
yeah. I
On her
know. But
landing page, she had, "We are building an anti-crypto army," for a year or
yeah,
whatever,
I
until
know.
nobody
But
cared about her anymore.
but
Like,
yeah, but
what
nobody
else is
really
there
gave
to
a
do?
fuck. But the only thing is that nobody gives a fuck. And the thing is,
Yeah, nobody gives a
like the
fuck as long as
US,
she's not in
the
power.
US, yeah, but the US, no matter, I think a lot of things would need to happen for people to say we are basically withdrawing our money, and let's not talk about crypto only. We talk about the USD primarily. I think a lot of things need to happen so that the money goes out of the US to, I don't know, Switzerland maybe, the euro maybe like some Asia. But where should the money go? That's US. There's no way that, for me at least, I don't see any way that there will be a large liquidity withdrawing out of the US anytime soon, unless something absolutely crazy is going to happen. Because the US is still like the safest harbor for capital in the world, and also the most liquid one by far, by miles. So
It
I
doesn't
don't
have
think.
to exit the US in order for it to be bearish risk assets. But like, ask any macro trader on planet Earth. They will all agree that if you have a socialist regime, or at least like the prospect of a socialist leaning regime coming in, that this is not positive risk assets. Like, that is economics 101. Especially if you're talking about unregulated or gray zone stuff like crypto, which many of it is still not like codified in law. Many of it is driven by executive orders issued by Trump, which could be repealed and like driven the opposite way by any of his successors if they were to be Democrats. Like,
So
there's
I have
no
to say
debate.
that I think I'm also on your side that Elizabeth Warren, like unfortunately I heard her name a little bit too often in the past couple of years. I also think that she's retarded. That might be the case, but I don't see that just because she gains more power that the US would turn into a socialist regime.
I mean, this also the crypto space will be affected a lot by US politics, which I think I would argue that at least for the previous 4 cycles, no one cared. I was like, the cycle was the cycle regardless of which US president was elected at the time. And I feel like right now, it feels almost as if like the cycle's success depends on Trump or another ETF being launched or anything like that. And I sense this too. I'm just not so sure about it. I think for like general risk assets, as you put it, it's probably true. What you say makes sense to me in the short term. But I think in the longer term, when people realize, okay, like the implemented changes, even by a leftist Democrat regime, will not bring the end to the US. I feel like things will return to their normal, overarching, multi-decade cycle, and that's where I'm coming from. But anyways, like let's assume you're true, that you're right. What does it mean? Like, are you positioning yourself accordingly for a scenario?
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't think it is going to happen in the near future. I mean, the first year it could happen would be in 2028. And I think we are still too far away from making an educated judgment of which party is going to win that next presidential election. I felt like I had an edge on the last one ever since June, July last year. I do not feel like I have an edge on the upcoming one. So like, I'm not overly opinionated on that. If you're talking about ways to hedge, I mean, if you still believe in the cyclicality of crypto, and if you believe that we are yet about to top for this cycle, then I would just probably take off more than you would have previously planned. If you think that kind of macro politics and regulatory stances will be pivoting against your industry in a few years coming time. Yeah, I mean, then poly market could obviously be another option, that you just keep your crypto industry exposure and you hedge yourself by going long, by betting on either a state being won or the general election or like any other proxy elections being won by these candidates. I mean, there are plenty of ways to hedge, but I think we are too early to make an opinionated take on that. Yeah, I think in the long run, I don't think that these people would be able to stop, especially Bitcoin anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
ETH and Solana and all of these smart contract platforms and DeFi is a little bit of a different game because it is much more dependent on like regulatory permissions of other financial players and companies to build stuff on that, to launch tokens, etc., to securitize tokens, to make them actual equity and whatnot. But with Bitcoin, I mean, regardless who is in charge, US debt will increase. The dollar will continue to get devalued. Like all the narratives that we've been talking about for 5 years, I think there's nothing that indicates these things changing. So I think the Bitcoin thesis in the very multi-decade long run is not going to be destroyed. I mean, again, like just because I'm saying that there would be significant capital outflows or reallocations from the US, I'm not like calling for an end of the United States as a nation or whatever, depending on who wins the next election. Like that is a little far-fetched, I think.
I gotta run in 10 minutes, so let's do a hard pivot here. Max, can you maybe talk a little bit about like the state of DeFi lending markets? Like what are you seeing right now?
So I think that if you want to proxy bet on DeFi, we see more and more synergies between these individual markets, and especially in the lending sector and what is related by that. If you just look at DeFi Llama, Aave is still growing, even though they already have 38 billion in TVL. Then Morpho is also growing significantly. Camino is growing, Jupiter Land is growing. Even like these OGs like Compound are doing reasonably well. Syrup, which is more on the institutional side with Maple Finance, that is growing. Like Euler is also growing significantly. So you see a lot of healthy adoption and a lot of healthy growth on the lending market side of things. And while I'm not a fan of these tokens as investment vehicles necessarily,
Yeah.
I do think that they are a very, like, if you want to follow the good product, so I need to own some of the token type of thesis, then I think DeFi lending markets right now are, a very, very attractive bet. First of all, because I think that these are among the easiest where you could implement a fee switch or you could turn them into actual equity once you have a standardized regulatory framework for that. And they have a rather easy and sustainable business model because it's somewhat, of course, correlated to the crypto cycle and risk appetite for borrowing and the willingness to pay borrowing rates. But overall, like there is a lot of capital in this industry and a lot of people are willing to lend it out in order to earn some extra yield. Many of these things are very battle tested. And I think overall, this whole lending sector is pretty compelling right now. There was the latest analyst live stream by 0x Research from Blockworks, I think from around a week ago. They went pretty deep into all the lending market growth metrics. And I think that's a very compelling thesis that they presented there. So I definitely recommend everybody to take a look at that too. And you can also use these individual tokens as a proxy on certain ecosystems. For example, Camino or Jupiter as a sole beta. You could use Morpho sort of as a proxy to Base because Morpho has an integration with Coinbase. So if you are a Coinbase centralized exchange user, you can lend out your CBBTC, and that is done via Morpho. And I mean, Aave it's mostly used by the large ETH whales, so like it's not a huge proxy there for anything else. But maybe on ETH if you want to play it that way. But yeah, overall, I think that this landscape is growing pretty healthy, and interesting if you guys are using any of the lending markets at all anymore, or if you've completely stepped away from DeFi.
I didn't step away from DeFi. I definitely am not invested into any DeFi token. I've been using DeFi both on the borrowing and lending side. I think, especially from a tax perspective, it's one of the most tax efficient ways to access capital, which is just, in most jurisdictions, loans are tax neutral. For any type of interest on collateral, obviously there's income, but I'm a heavy user of lending markets, and I think they are the cornerstone of DeFi. They get me much more excited than the fifth DEX or Launchpad or whatever else is being hyped right now. So savvy user.
I actually currently, like nowadays, I use one DeFi product that I still think is one of the best in the industries. It's Thorchain. I really love it. So I used to use it like a long time ago, but currently I actually use that one a lot to gamble a little bit around.
What are you doing on it?
I did some lending there as well. But mainly also a lot of spot, because what I really love to do is, because like there's actually, it's like for me currently it's like one of the most useful products that you can have, just because you can send you can send Bitcoin to a Bitcoin address by holding USDC on an Ethereum address without actually touching a centralized exchange. And this is what I really, really love. So this is what I currently do. So I trade a lot of Bitcoin on spot right now. And so whenever I have like some spare USDC, I send it directly to my address. Like it's just amazing.
Nice. Were you affected by this that debt flywheel?
No. Luckily not. So I used it like months ago, like before this meltdown occurred, and then I didn't use it when it happened, and now I'm using it again. But yeah, like I tried the lending product back then, and luckily I just tried it out once with like some pocket money.
Yeah, whole. I mean, if you look at the price chart of Rune, the token, it looks pretty dead. It fell down from around $7 to $1 in a rather brief period of time when that whole that depth thing came out earlier this year. Yeah, looks pretty irrecoverable.
Famous last words. That's usually so. The funny thing in crypto is, and that's why I like Thorchain. It's like you either are deep in the community, what appears to be dead from the outside, but it's not because there's users, there's a community, it works, blah blah blah, and then you end up being right and get rewarded for it. Versus you just follow the hype more or less, whatever it is right now, launchpads, meme coins, blah blah blah, and then it's more like a lottery. You may hit one, but it's mainly luck. And I feel like trying to use one of these smaller, lower cap products that work and is probably a better EV. Also, regarding the use case you just mentioned, Yuri, in the past I was using Shapeshift a lot, but also Thorchain. But like the experience of accessing Bitcoin seamlessly, or even paying with Bitcoin, because most payment providers, when they accept crypto, they accept like Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and stuff like that. And when I want to create, like when I don't want to dox my main Bitcoin wallets, and I want to create kind of like a burner type of payment, I could just like take any Solana, Ethereum assets, use Shapeshift or Thorchain, and just pay for whatever I'm trying to do. So long story short, I like Thorchain. I think they're trying things differently. It's definitely super weird I think I don't understand a lot of the things going on chain, but it gives me the vibe of like, oh, like things could go either way there. And I know this is like a like a nothing burger, can
It
go
could
left,
go up or it
can go
could go
up,
down.
down, or sideways. But I think it's more interesting than just like chasing the next meme coin.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a long time Rune holder since 2021, and I mean, obviously, I wasn't able to foresee that that depth event, so I'm still back holding a little bit of it. But yeah, I mean, it kind of lost its relevance. I mean, its DEX
Max, can I
volume
ask you
is down
something?
to
Why
40
are you
billion, which
always
is not.
affected by these things?
Yeah,
Why are you always affected by these things?
I don't know, man. I mean, I wasn't participating in the 4chain landing at least for that. But I mean, I always liked the product because it's kind of
Yeah.
it's was a good reflexive bet on the way up. If because there was that dynamic where you had to have like $3 worth of Rune tokens for like $1 worth of liquidity provided for the other side, because you had to match it one by one, I think, in the LP pools, and then you had to stake $2 in Rune to a validator. So like it was a downward spiral when markets went down, but it also was an upwards flywheel when markets went up, and it worked pretty well in the past. But yeah, I guess not anymore, because I mean the core product of 4chain and like this sort of cross chain DEX, I mean, it's still working. There's nothing that has changed about that, but it's pretty funny how the volume died down.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
was
but still,
one
it's
peak.
like it's still pretty stable at 400 million market cap and 493 fully diluted. And it's still
How
one of the
much are
products that
you
I
contributing?
like the most.
How much are you contributing to the 24-hour fees of $75? Rough guess.
I mean, 24 hours, like, let's put it like this. Actually, like not on the 24-hour span, but maybe on the monthly, like, not super significantly, but just because the fees for bridging from Ethereum to Bitcoin is quite heavy, I actually it makes a difference that I'm using it. Small one, but still.
I mean,
Friends, I gotta run.
maybe we should get the 4chain founder onto our pod. I think it would be quite interesting to discuss how
Would
this
love to.
thing unfolded. And I think
I gotta run.
I remember I've heard him in the past. All right, have a good one. Yeah, let's see what else is there to discuss. We could dive a little bit into the state of Solana. Are you using Solana at all?
Personally not, but our devs are. So yeah, we are like pretty active on Solana these days from a developer perspective, but personally not. Personally, I just used some Sui to play around with it, since also like from a professional point of view, we do a lot of things on Sui. But other than that, I'm super boring, dude. I don't use any L2s. I basically decided to use the Ethereum layer one in 2021, 2020, and ever since I didn't leave. When fees were too high, I just didn't use the chain. Then Cosmos came. Now there's nothing to do on Cosmos. So I'm hanging around on Ethereum mainnet and paying exorbitant fees. But here and there I have a look at Arvent and stuff like that, which is quite cool. But yeah, that's actually it, yeah.
I mean, I'm still holding a few of 2024, 2025 memes on Solana. Some of them have been doing all right recently, like the neo ones, like this unstable coin, or I think it was useless, but it seems like the Solana trenches have died down quite a bit. I've seen that graphic. I'm not sure if you saw it too, where there was like I think it was the total number of DEX trades by chain, and Solana was just dropping off of a cliff. ever
really?
since
Okay.
the Trump meme coin launch, and not like 50%, but like 80%, 90%, which is pretty interesting. I mean, of course, the vast majority of these people are low value users, and the high value users do not make up a large absolute number of transactions, but still, it's like if you follow the sort of heuristic of whatever gets value in crypto is what's getting attention, Solana has definitely lost the vast majority of its attention over the last months. I still think that there's a path to recovery, and I'm reasonably optimistic that the Sol ETFs, I think they're about to get approved in October. That
Yeah.
combined maybe with some more Solana DATs spinning up, I do think it could get revived. There's also the chance of somewhat of a Solana DeFi season. There's the Jupiter X Fluid collaboration has been reasonably successful. Camino is doing all right. I mean, there's nothing in Solana DeFi which is really cutting edge or innovative in terms of like capital mechanisms or like financial games you can play. Of course, you have all the launch pads there. But other than that, it's kind of just another chain to do DeFi on, and it's sort of lacking unique selling points to the average crypto user right now. So I think that's a challenge that Solana has to overcome, and where it needs a more clear positioning. But I mean, they are, after Ethereum, the number 2 layer 1 in terms of ecosystem size. And I mean, they have a lot of capital. They have still, even though they declined, a lot of users left. And yeah, I don't think that Solana by any means is dead.
Yeah. No, I don't think either. Like, I mean, like, sorry, it's like besides Ethereum, the most meaningful ecosystem. So that would be that would be like a disgrace to call it that way. But yeah, I think you mentioned it with regards to DeFi innovation. I think we saw a lot of DeFi innovation, obviously, in 2020 and 2021. But now it's really hard to really come up with novel ideas. So obviously, as head of product, we also always throw some ideas around. And I mean, yeah, the infrastructure really has improved significantly, so you can just build better products. But I mean, with DeFi, you're kind of copying financial applications that exist in today's markets and make them better, make them permissionless. But these gigantic yield aggregation products or novel lending markets, flash loans, and stuff like that. Yeah, we experienced all of this in 2021. So basically, now coming up with like completely new things that is really reinventing the wheel is really hard. I think the only thing that maybe that is, I believe, the holy grail in crypto. And if someone on Solana figures that out first, that would be huge booster to the ecosystem, under collateralized loans.
I mean, you have that to some extent with Wildcat Financial and I think Free Jane. I'm not sure if Free Jane is live yet, but Wildcat Financial is definitely. And that's all on Ethereum. Like I wouldn't know why Solana would have an edge on that, or where the Solana ecosystem and technicalities would give it an edge in that specific vertical in the future. I think Solana. What I'm really excited about is also the Solana Seeker mobile phone. Did you order one when it was live for this pre-sale like a year and a half ago?
No, but I was at the opening party, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
It was here in Berlin.
Some people.
Yeah, it was here in Berlin. Cool. Yeah, but didn't order it
people
because
have already received their shipments, or like at least like a notification that the shipment is starting. And I ordered one. I think it was a year and a half ago, and I just like re-entered the shipping address 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. So I definitely, also because I've not regularly used crypto on my phone, except for like the Binance centralized exchange and FTX back in the days, and I have like a few Bitcoin wallets on my phone too. But other than that, I've never interacted in DeFi or ever conducted more complex transaction than sending like funds from one wallet to another on my mobile phone. And I kind of want to change that with the Solana Seeker, also because I think I can keep it reasonably safe if I only use it for crypto stuff and just have my regular phone for all the other things. And yeah, I think like the whole Solana Seeker, maybe also if the crypto credit card ecosystem picks up more in the Solana ecosystem, then that could set the precedent for a decent like revival overall. So I'm cautiously optimistic on Solana.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, if they're really ETFs approved and if this happens relatively soon, so still in this bullish sentiment that we are still in now, then this could be huge. On the other hand, what I could also very much imagine is the Solana ETFs require more time. So say it doesn't happen now. So we enter a bear market for 1 or 2 years, and then the Solana ETF gets approved, and this could become the catalyst for the upcoming bull run.
I mean, I don't think that ETFs will serve as the catalyst for a bull run twice.
If everything gets approved?
Well, it depends on, I mean, crypto is a flows game, just like every other asset class. That's kind of coming back to the discussion that we had at the beginning about like risks, assets, and politics. So like you got to ask yourself the question, who would be the marginal buyer of these ETFs who is really willing to allocate to this asset class, but is not able to do it right now with the existing verticals? And I think the appetite for crypto assets, which go beyond the top 10, top 20 large caps by these larger players who cannot just create like a company account on a centralized exchange or hold these assets directly via a custodian in like on their own balance sheet or whatever. I think that is pretty limited. I think we are still a little bit away from companies getting interested in buying stuff like Aave or Morpho or Pendle or any of the meme coins or any AI X crypto coins or any of these like L2 things. Maybe you have some crypto native or like crypto focused treasury companies. For example, like what I could very well imagine being launched over the next weeks or month would be a DeFi focused treasury company where you move away from just holding one singular asset, but instead trying to hold a basket of, for example, DeFi asset. I think DeFi would be the sector where this is most intuitive. Maybe also like an L2 focused treasury company, even though like I don't know a single person who is bullish on any L2 token, so I'm not sure about the appetite on that. But yeah, maybe like a XRP ETF, ADA ETF, that stuff could gain a little bit of traction too. Let's see if Polymarket has some prediction markets on that. Oh, there actually are. Let me share my screen. So there's an 80% chance that a Doge ETF will be approved by the end of the year. Same for Cardano, same for Ripple, same for Litecoin. So yeah, I do think that, I mean, it's pretty likely that this will cover most of the appetite for crypto by ETF buyers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if we see that October, for example, I think an October would be a very likely scenario that could hopefully coincide
October
with
would be
the
nice.
cycles. How they, yeah.
You know what
I'm a little bit unsure about September.
But you know why I really want to see in October? Out of pure egoistic reasons, because Dev Connect will be in Argentina in November, and basically have a Viva Argentina full moon atmosphere after everyone like made a fortune in October. That would be like just nice. That would be like just some 2021 vibes again. That I would really love to see at Dev Connect. That would be great.
Yeah, I think I by now just want this cycle to be over. I just hope for one last leg up, finally, for all of these DeFi altcoins and whatever to break all-time highs, and then just step away from some of these directional plays and focus more on DeFi farming again.
Yeah. Actually, also just because we talked about Aave, I mean, it's tremendous. Aave gives you currently 6.8% on USDC.
Yeah, risk appetite is still quite healthy. I think another
And
one,
I mean,
if
Aave is
you're
a great product.
yeah, if you're willing to go a little bit further down the risk curve, I think Stream Finance is pretty exciting right now. I've had the founder 0x Law on the pod, I think around a month ago, and it's basically a crypto market neutral hedge fund. So it's like they are doing a lot of stablecoin farming, delta neutral stuff, and their growth story has been insanely impressive. I think they're up to like 160 or whatever million TVL in just a few months after launch. Let me share the screen. Yeah, they're up to 155 ever since the V2 launched in February. And yeah, I think 0x Law, he's like one of the very few DeFi prodigies in the industry right now. Of course, you have a very big tail risk because it's trust me, bro, technology. You're trusting him to handle the funds well. But so far, he has a pretty good track record, and there are rumors by some more reliable, some more dubious sources that Stream will be able to raise at a pretty impressive valuation very soon. So getting exposure to their points program might be an interesting play. Like, I'm definitely increasing my XUSD YT position on Pendle these days. I think that could be a decent bet.
But what's your stance on the upcoming weeks? What do you think will happen? When will the cycle end?
I mean, honestly, if you're looking back at August, which many people said, yeah, it's going to be like anal August, whatever, blah, blah, it didn't even look that bad. If you look at the chart, on most assets, we bottomed, I think it was August 3rd, August 4th, and then it was up only for around 2 weeks. But the sentiment in August was terrible. Like, it felt more anal than the price action actually was. So I'm not sure about September. I would be surprised to see any violent upward move before the pending rate cut at the next FOMC meeting. Of course, if we do not see a rate cut, which there's like I think a 15% or 20% chance right now. Let me see really quick on Polymarket. So economy, Fed decision in September. So yeah, there's a 83% chance of a 25%, 25 basis points rate cut, which I think I do not see any reason to fight that consensus. So if we do not see that in the remaining percentage points, then I think that could be incredibly bearish. However, if we see 25% rates being cut at the end of September, combined with some more dovish statements by Jerome Powell, I do think that kind of gives the market some security back, and then we will see the bull market finally conclude, hopefully into its last 2 innings, and giving us all some decent exit opportunities. I actually do not think that the Fed rates matter that much as people make them matter, but everybody is using it as an excuse to de-risk or to put risk on. The average user is not affected by this at all. Also, it's not like if you look at liquid funds, everybody's getting their capital called back if rates would stay the same versus would get flooded with new capital if rates were to drop by 25 basis points. The calculus you can make there is that there's basically two sides to this Fed rate influence. On the one side, you have some people that argue, okay, you have a lot of people allocated into treasury bonds, and right now they are getting their 4.5 or 4.25% APR. So they can use all of these like interest payouts to bid risk assets, and that creates like a kind of floor in buying pressure, and that is actually bullish for risk assets for Fed rates to be that high. And this like constant bid would not be there if interest rates were not that high. On the other hand, you can argue that, okay, if interest rates drop, treasuries get less attractive, so people have to look for something else to allocate into again. And then if you don't allocate into treasuries, you go down the risk curve into equities and into crypto. So, I mean, either way, you can make a bull case for crypto there. Also on the macro side, at least the numbers that are being paid attention to, nothing looks too bad right now that would warrant any crash prophecies or significant fears. I mean, there's no secret that the sort of real economy has been detached from the asset economy for the last 5 years, ever since the quantitative easing set on with COVID. And this trend is not reversing. So at some point in time, we will see a pretty severe recession. But I do not think that we are there yet at this very point in time. So I'm leaning cautiously bullish for September itself for the first half. I wouldn't be surprised by more chop, but once we get clarification from the Fed, I do think the odds of resuming up only are pretty high. All right, it seems like we've lost Yuri. Yeah, we are almost at the hour. So I think it is time to end the stream. Even though this one wasn't as long as the previous ones, I think we covered a quite broad variety of topics. If you guys have any remaining questions, just let us know. Always open to chat. And if you have any guests you'd like to see hop on, also just tag us and we'll try to get them on the show. Have a good one, everybody.